Caught on camera. Conservation ecologists and biologists need effective methods of collecting information about animal populations. Traditional methods for gathering these data including using humane box traps to capture animals, but recent technological advances have made camera trapping, a data collection method in which remote cameras are triggered by animals' presence or set to take pictures at regular intervals, a viable alternative. Okay, now we are talking about using box traps to capture animals, and we obviously want to indicate that the box traps are not harmful to the animals. So humane would make sense because humane would indicate that proper care is taken that these box traps don't hurt animals. Benevolent is kind, so that wouldn't fit the context, and neither would civilized. In a study published in 2017, Texas A&M University researchers performed an experiment to compare the two methods. For the first part of their study, with the researchers setting box traps in two locations within Texas Sabine National Forest. So for the first part of their study, the researchers set box traps, right? Because I need to complete my sentence, so I need a subject and a verb, which is what option D says. If I say with the researcher setting or as the researcher set or the researcher setting, that doesn't complete my sentence, right? The next fall, the research team removed the box traps and mounted, right? Digital camera traps. I'm using the past tense, right? They removed the box traps and mounted. So this is parallel structure. I'll just maintain the same tense in the sentence, mounted. Digital camera traps, each of which took a picture every 30 seconds, a frequency that would enable the cameras to capture images of any reptiles passing by their lenses in the same two locations. The researchers left the cameras in place for 56 days, and at the end of the period, they analyzed the 166,840 pictures that had been produced. Over 51 days, the researchers checked the traps every 3 days to identify and tally all scaled reptiles, such as snakes, caught in the traps. Okay. The researchers checked the traps, right? So this and this, neither of them is possessive, right? They are not possessive. So I don't have to use apostrophes anywhere. So the right answer would be C. The researchers checked the traps every 3 days to identify and tally all scaled reptiles. Sentence 4 should be placed where? Over 51 days, the researchers checked the traps every 3 days to identify and tally all scaled reptiles caught in the traps. So we're talking about the reptiles being caught in the traps. So this obviously refers to the box traps. Yeah, so this would have to come after sentence 1 because here I'm setting up the box traps, and then in sentence 2 I'm saying the next fall they removed the box traps. So what they did after the setup would be sentence 4. So this comes after sentence 1, option C. Comparing the population data collected using box traps with the data collected using camera traps, right? I have to compare data collected using box traps with data collected using camera traps. I can't just say camera traps because that's not a like-to-like comparison. And I also don't want to say C because I think B captures that better. Comparing the population data collected using box traps. Yeah, I want to compare this data with that data. So I think B is more specific than C. The researchers found that the camera traps were able to provide information about more species of reptiles than the box traps did. The box traps were able to capture just 7 species, all of which were lizards. Which choice provides the most accurate description? They were able to capture just 7 reptiles including a combination of, wait, they were able to capture, and let's read the next one. In contrast, the camera traps detected this. Okay, so lizard species and this. Okay, so these were able to capture 1, 2. Okay, so this was, no lizards were captured by box trap, and it was just snakes. Okay, so uh, they captured 3 species, right? 1, 2, and 3, which were all of which were snakes, and 7 total reptiles. So this would be D. In contrast, the camera traps detected, the writer wants to use accurate data from the table to support the comparison. The camera traps detected 144 species of lizards, 6 species of snakes, and a total of 150 reptiles. Yeah, that is correct. 144, not 144 species. It was, wait, species, right? How many species did they capture? So this was 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 species of lizards. And what about snakes? 1, 2, 2 species of snakes, right? So they were able to capture 6 species, including both snakes and lizards, right? And 150 total reptiles. Although the camera traps were unable to detect some of the snake species identified using the box traps, they were able to provide information on several lizard species that researchers suspected were able to evade the box traps. Despite the attractiveness of camera trapping for gathering information, the researchers cautioned that the benefits of using box traps should not be disregarded. Okay, so here I don't need any connector. I don't need likewise, therefore, for example, because I'm already saying that despite the attractiveness of camera trapping, the benefits of box trap should not be disregarded. So I can just delete this underlined portion. Among other advantages, box traps allow scientists to inspect animals more closely, perform health screenings, and collect genetic data. Depending on how often box traps are checked, camera trapping may also be more expensive, especially for short-term studies. This is because initial startup costs for camera traps are high. Okay, expensive. So I need to, okay. Depending on how often box traps are checked, camera trapping may also be more expensive since initial startup costs for camera traps are high, especially for short-term studies. So I like A, the way written, especially for short-term studies, which is because of the high. This is unnecessarily long. And this again is using too many words. And moreover, this is, okay, so none of them are as concise as A. However, the experiment with the 2 types of traps shows that, right? I have to choose the verb for this subject, and this subject experiment is singular. So I have to use the singular verb. It shows that camera trapping can be an effective tool.